Joining me tonight is Congressman Ami Bera, a man who is a Democrat, but also a keen watcher of India and Pakistan relations. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining me. I want to ask you, what are your first reactions, Ami Bera, to the a slightly, tenuous understanding between India and Pakistan, and how do you see America's support and the entire view of America on this entire issue?
I mean, obviously, I'm happy to see that there's a temporary ceasefire, that both India and Pakistan were able to cease the hostilities, and will start conversations today, or may have already started yesterday in India. I think the United States should play a key role as a mediator, perhaps along with some of the Arab countries and others that may have different relationships with Pakistan. But hopefully in this temporary ceasefire, we can try to negotiate a longer term solution to the line of control. Again, that obviously is difficult, but we should attempt it.
But the question many are asking tonight is, America has been silent about the proof of the terror camps, the manner in which the Pakistan army has been seen to be supporting the terrorists who have been killed. Clearly, questions are now being raised about terrorism. Is it really an issue for the United States, or is it more the strategic importance of Pakistan that is being looked at by the United States?
No, I think the relationship between the United States and India has been on an upward trajectory. Obviously, a lot of us in Congress made statements after the horrific attacks in April in Kashmir on innocent tourists, and none of us was surprised that India retaliated. Again, from the reports that I've seen, targeting terror camps, recruitment camps, et cetera, that escalated again. Now, hopefully, this can de-escalate. Pakistan does have, it probably has the highest number of domestic terror attacks in its own borders. So terrorism is an issue, both the Pakistan Taliban, but also Pakistani terror groups that have come across the border repeatedly into India. So, again, hopefully there's a longer term solution here.
But the fact is that Pakistan does talk about being a victim of terror, but the manner in which the Pakistani army was seen giving the state funerals to these terrorists raises doubts about Pakistan's determination to fight terror that it houses within its country. The fact that Osama bin Laden was found in Abbottabad by the United States clearly tells you about the track record of Pakistan. And the question is also about the fact that 9/11, London bombings, all of these issues have a Pakistani imprint, something that Prime Minister Modi spoke about in his statement and address to the nation today. Can the world really hide away from this?
So again, I'm not suggesting that there isn't a terror threat inside Pakistan, that, both we see those attacks and certainly need to address these terror groups, create some stability. Also not disputing the fact that some Pakistani-supported terror groups have clearly come across the border into India, provoking these retaliatory attacks by the Indians. All I'm suggesting is perhaps now that there is a ceasefire and there are conversations between both the Indian side and the Pakistani side, perhaps there is an opportunity to address something longer term. Now, that I think it's going to be incredibly hard. I think the United States does have a role here, but I also think some of the countries and other countries should play a role in mediating this conversation.
So let me also ask you, the Prime Minister has made it clear that as far as terror is concerned, any further terror incident will be seen as an act of war. Number one. Number two, he said the only conversation with Pakistan will be on terror and POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Do you think these red lines are something that America would appreciate?
Well, again, I think at the end of the day, any agreement has to be an agreement between India and Pakistan on terms that both countries can abide by. This is not to say you don't have to deal with the terror threat that's emanating from Pakistan. I think Prime Minister Modi was fairly clear on that. Pakistan has its own real challenges in terms of its domestic economy, other things that are going on. And India, as a rising nation, clearly has other things that it has to deal with. Obviously, we're doing a trade negotiation with the United States. They have issues with China on their northern border, with the line of control there. And then we do want to do more business with India. So again, I hope that this turns into a longer-term ceasefire, that we can at least create some security. I don't know if we'll solve the line of control issue in Kashmir, but again, that's something that India and Pakistan will have to decide on.
Well, let me also ask you this question. President Trump made it almost sound like America was mediating between the two countries, whereas facts that have come out so far show that it was Pakistan that went crying to America. And after that, the DGMOs, the Director Generals of Military Operation on both sides, dialed and spoke to each other, Pakistan dialing India first. Do you really take the issue of this brokering of the current ceasefire by America at face value?
I think America did play a role. We'll find out how big a role that was. Certainly Secretary Rubio was having conversations with both the Indians and Pakistanis. I also know the Saudi foreign minister had arrived in Islamabad. So, I don't think this was the United States alone. I think it was several countries mediating a ceasefire. And again, had you asked me 3-4 days ago, it seemed like it was going to continue to escalate. So however we got there, I'm happy that we're at a negotiated ceasefire and that the Indians and Pakistanis are talking right now.
Well, the Prime Minister has also made it clear that the conversation at a neutral venue that was suggested by President Trump is not something that's really on the cards as far as India is concerned. How do you see the Prime Minister's statement, the Prime Minister's proof to the world about the terror factory within Pakistan, and the fact that the only conversation with Pakistan will be on terror? How important do you think this change in India's doctrine of engagement with Pakistan is at this moment?
I think that's a response to the heinous terror attacks that we saw in April with the killing of innocent tourists. And that is where the Prime Minister's response is. That may be the starting point, but again, the hope would be between these two nuclear-armed nations, you can start to de-escalate things and find a different path forward. Again, I have to be an optimist. I have to, as a diplomat, as a member of Congress, as a senior Indian American member of Congress, I'm going to look for a path that finds peace and security in the region for both sides. And again, it's not going to be easy.
Yes, it's not going to be easy. So let me ask you, let me just ask you rapid fire. Do you back India's retaliatory action? Do you think it was fair given the kind of attack that was done by terrorists to hapless civilian tourists?
We'll go back and analyze the targets that were hit. But again, the initial briefings that I received was that it was targeting terror recruitment centers, training grounds, et cetera. And then obviously there was we'll see what the response by Pakistan was and where this all ended up. But again, none of us was surprised that India responded.
And do you think, the world today has a few terrorists less because of this action by India?
Sure, but I'm not going to diminish the terror threat that is inside Pakistan, both domestic threats that potentially destabilize Pakistan, but also cross-border threats. So that's the reality of where Pakistan is. I don't disagree that, from the Indian perspective, they're going to push hard for Pakistan to address that terror threat.
Let me also ask you, do you think for America, India and Pakistan can be hyphenated? Are they of equal importance?
No, I mean, you see the growing relationship between the United States and India. That President Trump has highlighted India as one of the first countries to start these trade negotiations. India is certainly a market that we look at as we try to diversify out of China. So I see the India-U.S. relationship just continuing to grow. Simultaneously, you see Pakistan developing a greater relationship with China. So I do think there's a shifting in relationships at this juncture. And I think the Indians also understand the longer-term regional competitive threat is China.
And do you think when it comes to China, where do Pakistan's loyalties really lie? China, United States?
I mean, I think Pakistan probably is less close to the United States at this point than it may have been in years past. I think they also look at the growing relationship between the United States and India, also see India's growing role in the world in terms of becoming a rising power, a rising economy. So, I think with that, then Pakistan probably is hedging its bets, going closer to China. We know, China is now providing a lot of the military equipment. We saw that in, the last week in terms of the military equipment that Pakistan used, the jets, missiles, et cetera. That's coming from China. So again, I think there's a shift, a greater U.S.-India relationship simultaneously with the Pakistan-China relationship.
So in the end, Ami Bera, I just want to ask you one question. The fact that China is out there literally, if I can call it that, running Pakistan, do you think it's fair of President Trump to hyphenate India and Pakistan? Are they even countries that can be spoken of in the same breath?
I mean, that may be how President Trump is talking about it. That's not how I talk about it. They're two very different countries. They're two countries on very different trajectories. India's on the rise, obviously, as I said, as a growing world power, as a growing economy, as a marketplace that we're increasingly interested in. And again, you look at Pakistan's economy and the direction Pakistan is headed, it's not a positive one.
Absolutely. And for many in India, actually don't look at this hyphenation very, very kindly, but you're a realist and you put it out there that India and its democratic values closer probably to the United States, democracy in Pakistan, clearly a joke maybe. You agree?
I mean, it's clearly a different form of democracy. I mean, it's a military-led government. You clearly see the political tensions that exist in Pakistan today. And again, I do see a bright future for the U.S.-India relationship.
Thank you very much for being a great India optimist. Thank you very much, Ami Bera. On a day when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has laid out the red lines, we will make our own policies, and terror and talks with Pakistan can't go hand in hand. It's the red line, it's a doctrine shift, and it is a new India dictating this. Thank you very much, Congressman Bera.
Great, thank you. Be well.